All right, so as per our last video, the first template that we're going to look at is the popular ChatGPT plus enterprise data with Azure OpenAI and AI Search. Now, this is a very, very popular use case. The idea behind this being that you just want the ChatGPT experience, but on top of your data. So you just don't want a ChatGPT that knows everything. You want a ChatGPT that knows everything about your internal data. And so that's the system that you're going to be looking at. So this is basically the architecture of this particular template. So in terms of how this data flows, so you can think of it where you have your own data sources. So you may have like your own FAQ documents, your own just internal documentation, and then you're basically just going to index and store that in Azure AI Search. And then you'll implement a system where a user can come in, ask a particular question. It's going to go through the server. And then based on the question that the user asks, we're going to actually perform RAG, that is Retrieval-Augmented Generation, where it's basically just going to do a quick retrieval or a quick search through your internal database. And then it's basically just going to tell an LLM to answer the user's question based on your internal documentation. So that's the overview of the workflow of this particular template. We've seen a lot of organizations trying to adopt this new template. So good news is that you don't have to do this from scratch. We have a template that can get you started in a few minutes. So you may be wondering, where do you get started? Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, before you move on to the next part, Julia, this is also written in Python, Node, and TypeScript. So this application itself has got multiple languages, which is really cool. So if you don't know one or the other, don't worry about it. This is absolutely part of the template itself. So yeah, carry on, Julia. Sorry, I didn't mean to stop you in your flow there. You crack on. I just wanted to mention that one.
No, that's a very, very good call out. So yeah, if this is your stack, that's totally fine. And if this is not your stack, good news is that you actually have these templates written in other languages. So you can check out the template library and you'll probably see like a C# version and a Java version for this particular use case. So at this point, you may be wondering, where do you get started? Where do you actually interact with this template and get it deployed? So there are two ways. You can either go straight to the AZD templates library, but my personal favorite is actually working directly from VS Code. So I like to use the Azure Developer CLI extension. As you can see, I already have it installed. So Liam, could you walk us through how I can actually get a hold of the template and the steps for me to actually get these deployed and to start interacting with it?
Absolutely. So there's actually a couple of ways you can do this. Now, we didn't really mention this in the introduction video, but AZD is more of an ecosystem than just a CLI itself, right? So Julia, great call out here to the extension in VS Code. But essentially, it all does the same thing. So whether you're working from the terminal or whether you're working from VS Code extension, all you're going to be doing is doing an initialization of that template onto your machine. So let's actually walk through this with yourself. How have you done this, right? So you go into the control pane and let's spin up the extension. So Azure Developer CLI extension, we're going to initialize an application. From here, you're going to get a drop-down list where you can select a template. Now, if we were to click on select a template, you're going to see a whole bunch of different templates available for you to grab. Now, you can search for them. This is basically just going through the repository that you have available to you on Awesome AZD. Now, I believe we've already got this, right? You've already got this on your machine. But if you were to do this separately, then you would just search for chat or Vision or ChatGPT, whatever it is that you're trying to do or trying to search and deploy, and you then click on it. And if you were to click on it, then you'd start initializing it inside your workspace. Now, you've got it already on your workspace, but let's go and have a little look at it. If you were to do this inside the terminal, you would run azd init -t or like -t and then the template itself. And that's how you do it from the terminal. It very much does the same thing, but it just gives you a different user experience. Now, as you can see here, we have now got it on the machine. And this is the README. So you can see it. We've got a RAG chat app with Azure OpenAI. And this is using like the ChatGPT style of what we're going to be talking through. We're going to ask questions. It's very much a very popular and good use case for a RAG application. So if we were to deploy this, once you've got it on your machine and initialized it locally, there's only a couple of commands you have to use. So you'd use azd auth login, which will allow you to log into your Azure account. i.e. giving you access to the subscription to where you want your resources to be deployed to. And this is super important, otherwise it won't work. You won't be able to deploy it. Very, very much like you would log into the Azure CLI, just with Azure Developer, or the AZD, Azure Developer CLI. Once you've done that one, you would then set a new environment, or you can just run AZD up, right? So if you're setting an environment, that's just giving you environment separation, whereas AZD up will also run that for you, but it would just use one environment, right? You would ask for a simple name. It would then ask for a location. And once it's got those and everything matches up, then it's all good. It will continue to deploy. So I believe, do we have a screenshot of this being deployed? Because if we were to do this live in the video, it would just take too much time. And I would appreciate that we can skip through this, but we also have it deployed already, just to make this super quick for you, because these are bite-sized videos, remember. So what we've done here is you can see at the very top, we've highlighted the box that says AZD up. We have selected the subscription. We have selected the location, which is the CA JavaScript team, which is Julia's team. And then we've chosen West Europe as the location for the resources to live. It's going to package everything up for us, and it's then going to start deploying it. You can see with all of the little check boxes that say done, 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 each individual line there is a resource that is deployed to Azure, which is pretty cool, right? So imagine if you were doing this by hand in the portal, click, 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 click. It would take so long. I probably wouldn't even attempt to try and do this myself if I was doing it in the portal. I don't know about you, Julia, but I sometimes find that a bit too arduous. Exactly.
Yeah.
It takes a while.
Yeah.
So just by writing some infrastructure as code, you're able to do this and stand up your resources. So AZD up is an encapsulation of provision and deploy. Now, provision is going to work with the resources, so the infrastructure side of your application, and deploy is the code side of the application. So it's deploying the code onto your resources. So if you are packaging up a container, it will be deploying that container or the code into the container, rather. It will be packaging everything up for you. So AZD up is an encapsulation command, but there are obviously other commands that you can use individually to have a little bit more control if you need it. So hopefully that was a good overview of what we have looked at here. And hopefully you understand this a little bit better of how you get started with a template.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, we actually had to give it a few minutes to get it deployed, because as you've seen, it has a lot of resources and a lot of services that get deployed for you out of the box. But the end result of what we saw after we deployed this was actually this really nice application that you can begin interacting with as soon as it's deployed. So in this case, we've already ingested our data. So our data is already in the pipeline. And now anyone who's landed on this system can just start asking questions about your particular documents that you've added. And now this is just using some sample documentation that has been provided by the team that built this. So the beauty of this is that you have already downloaded the application's code, and you can easily just come into the data folder and then swap out this sample data with your own business data. So that way you'll be having a system that is now customized and talking to your own data. So I can't wait to see what you all do with this particular template. Feel free to use it as a learning project. Feel free to use it as a POC project. And happy coding.
Awesome stuff. Thank you very much. It's been a brilliant run through this one. And if you want to get hands-on with this template, it'll be in the description of the video as well. So we look forward to seeing you in the next one when we go through another template. See you later.